The demonstration today. I know from my own Twitter activities that many of you are on Twitter, and you are probably aware that many athletes are on Twitter, and that lots of people talk about sports on Twitter. So, something I want to show you today is how you can pull stuff from Twitter and analyze it and look at a few things. So, just off the top here, the chapter in the book and all of this data and the code that you're going to look at here is all from Colin Berkey, who's teaching the other section of sports data analysis. Colin's really interested in this and did a really great job putting this together. So I've got stuff to show you thanks to him. So first of all, I'm going to load my libraries. If you go to the chapter, you'll look at how you can install these. There's a library called Rtweet, which is the library that is going to grab all of the Twitter data for us when the time comes. There's another library called tidytext. Tidytext is a way to do text analysis that uses tidyverse similar sort of verbs and constructions and things that you've been used to. So another really handy library to have to do text analysis and try to make structured data out of unstructured data like text. And we'll do tidyverse, lubridate, and ggRepel for some charting that we'll do later on. So the way that Rtweet works is there is something called search tweets, which is a function. Search tweets will go out to Twitter and use the search function on Twitter like you were a human being and you open up the browser and went to Twitter and just typed in this case, hashtag Huskers. It will hit that search. It'll come back with 8,000 tweets, and we'll turn the include retweets off because particularly during a Nebraska football game, there's just a crap ton of retweeting going on, and we want to ignore those. So this will get you as many as 8,000 tweets with hashtag Huskers, but you have to understand that the Twitter search is limited. It will only go back a certain length of time, and also you are limited in how many tweets that you can get back from the Twitter API from searching this way. So you don't want to run a bunch of searches like this and ask for the moon, or you'll get rate limited, is what it is. You'll basically be banned from making more queries for a period of time. So you can only request so many tweets in a certain period of time. So this, looking at hashtag Huskers and hashtag GBR with n equals 8,000, will stay within that rate limit. And if you're looking at like just a game, like if you were to just to run this at about an hour after a game got over, you would get all of the tweets from a Husker game without a problem. This past weekend, if you weren't paying attention, the university, the athletic department, staged a video game version of the spring game. And I won't lie, I tuned in for a little bit and watched a video game version of the spring game, which was made up of Husker greats going against each other, a red-white game. But so did like 200,000 people total, which is kind of insane. And there were people tweeting about it all weekend long. So Colin went and ran 3 searches like this. He ran Husker tweets, or he ran Huskers Go Big Red, and the hashtag was Huskers United for the game itself. So between these 3 data sets, he went and got pretty much every tweet that was going on about that spring game. Saved them as CSVs so I can import them here, because if I were to run these now, I probably wouldn't get all of the tweets from the game. It's enough time's gone by that it's going to get harder and harder by the day. So Colin grabbed these tweets. I'm going to load them up in here, and you can see that the Twitter data comes back is pretty robust. There's an awful lot of stuff in there. There's all of these columns and 21 more In fact, we can go over here and take a look. So user ID, their status, when they're created, when the tweet was created, who the screen name is. So this is Husker Mafia is this first one. The text is happy birthday to something. They sent it on their iPhone. This is all just stuff that helps Twitter set up things. So is it a retweet? False. Is it a quote tweet? Apparently, they're all true. There's some true quote tweets. How many favorites it got? How many retweets it got? On and 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 on. But there is the one thing that we are interested in is text. That's what did they write in this tweet. All right, so I've imported those three things, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind them together now, and I'm going to keep distinct text. So if somebody hashtagged Huskers and GPR and Huskers United, this distinct text will merge them together, and we'll just keep the distinct text together, which gives me a tweet data frame that has 3,729 observations. So 3,729 times people tweeted about a video game spring game. I mean, just as an aside, we do realize that the spring game is practice, right? Not to sound like a very famous rant, but we're talking about practice here. But yeah, we had 3,729 tweets about a video game practice that a computer played against itself. That's okay. That's where we're at right now. All right. What this does here is it's just going to select some stuff that will make it interesting, some, limit the amount of data that we have. So we now have a smaller tweet data frame that's just 11 variables now. And then what this does is I'm just going to narrow this down to an hour before the video game started. So at noon on Saturday to about 4 o'clock is what this says. So I wasn't paying attention to how long it really went on, but I got a hard time believing that a video game went on for longer than 3 hours. So this creates spring game tweets, which narrows the pile down a little bit to 1,246. So this is the tweets that were happening just during the game, quote unquote game, I should say. So what we can do now is we can start to look at what's in here. Like what are we looking at here? Like how many tweets are we talking about? How often were people tweeting about it? And really over time, like, is there a period of time where there was a spike? Well, we can group this thing by the created at time and count it up, and that will give us the number of tweets per minute. And then use ggplot, same that we have been doing all along. And here is the tweets per minute. So here, just after 3 o'clock, there was a peak of where we got more than 80 tweets then. The video game, spring game, went to overtime because, of course, it did. And I'm pretty certain this is where the white team ended up winning it right there. So you can see people started tweeting before it happened. So here's the start time at 1 o'clock, and people were tweeting a bunch about it, and it sort of waned, and then, yeah, it was nuts at the end. So that's just looking at total tweet volume, what's going on. We can also look at sentiment. What sentiment analysis is it takes every word and compares them to a dictionary of words. And that dictionary of words has a sentiment score assigned to it, whether it's positive or negative. So something like garbage That call was garbage. Well, the word garbage would have a negative sentiment. So you get a bunch of tweets that have negative sentiment all at once, and it will pull the total sentiment score for that particular minute down. Things like awesome and great and happy and things like that. They'll have positive sentiment scores. So the question is, what was the sentiment of these tweets throughout? Well, Tidy Text has a sentiment library. You can get it this way. Then we will create a Spring Game Tweets Tidy, a new data frame that's going to take our Spring Game tweets. It's going to run this function called unnest tokens. What unnest tokens does is it breaks down something into individual words, or there are other ways that we can break this down. But in this case, it's just going to break it down into individual words. And the thing that it's breaking down is text. Remember from looking up here that text is the thing that we are really interested in. So this is going to take the text here, break it down into individual words, and then it's going to use this anti-join with these things called stop words. Stop words are things like the, and, or things like that. Just, if we counted up all of the words in a paragraph, the word the is probably going to be number one. So we can get rid of those with this anti-join. It just says kick out all the stop words. So all the words that don't really matter, and just leave us adverbs, adjectives, nouns, and verbs. All right, so we run that. And Spring Game Tweets Tidy gets us down to 1,246. Ooh, no, I'm sorry. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. That's the sentiment. Tidy, here we go. 11,070 words. So Husker Mafia tweeted, incredible Nebraska athletics. Nebraska football means Huskers. Gosh, love hearing names called. You can kind of half pick up what this sentence is all about. Well, things like incredible, gosh, love, those are all going to have very positive sentiment. Sucks is not. That's Chris Heddy of the World Herald. Well, he's tweeting about Charlie easily leaving the Nebraska basketball team. So not exactly related, but, all right. You can see there's some garbage in here as well. But that's what this unnest tokens does, is breaks these things down into individual words. So what we can then do is take Spring Game Tweets Tidy. We can join the affinity score to each word. We'll group it by the minute that it was created, and we'll create an average, a mean sentiment value for that minute. So this is going to tell you minute by minute how positive or negative were people during the video game Spring Game. So take a guess as to what that would look like. This ggplot just takes that sentiment by minute. You can see that there are 49 observations in that time, so there's about 50 different unique minutes in here. And it's going to show you what that looks like. So the X is the created at. We'll have a line chart that is going to be the date is created at, and the sentiment is the value that it's charting. This is all just some titling and some annotations. We'll run that, and here we are. 0 would be completely neutral. So anything with a positive value is in the positive sentiment range. Anything with a negative value is in a negative range. At 3 o'clock exactly, when it went into overtime, that's when people got negative, which is kind of funny. So for the most part, Husker fans were pretty positive about a video game showing them the spring game. And you can see how I feel about it in in my headline here. That let me rerun this so you can get a better view of it. Yeah, more than 200,000 people watch the video game on Twitter, and that's where we're at right now. So that's basically it. It's a lot of stuff that we've done before with sort of joining things together and filtering and adding some new tools, like being able to ascribe whether or not a word is positive or negative, taking a sentence of text and breaking it up into individual words, and pulling data from Twitter using their API. The book will help you set up Rtweets if you're curious to use it. Just be gentle with Twitter and don't get rate limited by just hammering away with a bunch of requests, and you'll be all right.